This is Office Talk with Annette Stepanian. Hey there, glad you're back for another episode. If you had a chance to listen to episode 42, then you know we talked about the 4 things that the FTC wants you to know before you endorse another company's products or services. Now, if you haven't had a chance to listen, I'd encourage you to do so. It's only a 10-minute episode, and it was a super timely episode because after recording it, I read that Instagram announced that they're adding new features to the platform to make it easier for bloggers and other influencers to disclose when they are posting sponsored content. Now, why all the fuss, you ask? Well, after reviewing numerous Instagram posts by celebrities, athletes, and other influencers, the FTC recently sent out more than 90 letters reminding influencers that they should clearly and conspicuously disclose their relationships to brands when promoting or endorsing products through social media. So it's totally on their radar, and that's why I want to make sure you have a listen to that episode and are up to speed on this whole area. Which brings me to the topic in this episode. So back in episode 42, I promised you that I'd address questions that come up from companies or advertisers who want to work with affiliates, customers, or other influencers to help market or promote their products or service. Now, let's assume you're a business owner and you want to use your customers' reviews or testimonials to help promote your products and services. Maybe you're going to put those testimonials on your website, your sales page, your social media, or maybe you're going to do a case study about them. You're out there marketing and selling and promoting your products and services, so what better way to do that than to have testimonials from others who have actually used your products, right? So can you use testimonials from prior customers in your marketing? Of course you can. But the FTC has a few guidelines on how to properly do so, and that's what we're going to dive into next. Tip number 1 is that testimonials must reflect the honest opinions, findings, beliefs, or experience of the endorser. So this one hopefully isn't coming as a surprise to anyone, because remember, at its core, the FTC is there to protect consumers against unfair, deceptive, or fraudulent practices in the marketplace, including things like false advertising. So you can't be using testimonials that simply aren't true or are totally made up, okay? I know you guys already know this, but just wanted to remind you. Now, the testimonial doesn't have to be phrased in the exact words of the endorser. However, the testimonial cannot be presented out of context or reworded so as to distort the endorser's opinion or experience with the product, okay? So let's say you got a testimonial in and it's a little too long and you need to edit it down in order to conserve some space. Well, if you're going to be editing things down, then just make sure that what remains after you have edited is the actual honest opinion of that individual. Also, they might put a sentence or two in there that doesn't really look great for you. You can't edit that out, okay? It has to be a fair reflection of that endorser's experience. Now, the next tip isn't as straightforward as tip number 1. Tip number 2 is that the testimonials must reflect the typical experience of consumers. Let's say you're advertising your new social media course where you teach people how to grow their social media following, and a total of 100 people have taken your course in the past. Let's say 3 customers grew their followings from 0 to 20,000 after implementing the strategies you recommended in your course. But in fact, the other 97 of your students, so that's like 97% of your students, saw their social media following grow only by 100 people. Okay, so are you guys following me? This is not a math formula, I promise, okay? So if you only put testimonials from those 3 customers who grew their following to 20,000 by taking your course, you're going to be misleading because that wasn't the average experience of 97% of your customers. 97% of your customers didn't see a growth of 20,000. They only saw a growth of 100. So what do? You're in this situation where you want to highlight these phenomenal results from your 3 students because they make you look great, right? They went from 0 to 20,000 social media followers after they implemented the strategies from your course. But they don't represent the average experience of your customers. Well, the FTC is pretty clear that putting a disclosure that says something like, quote, results not typical, end quote, or, quote, these testimonials are based on the experiences of a few people and you're not likely to have similar results, end quote, is not going to be sufficient in order to prevent it from being deceptive. Because consumers are still going to interpret that ad as conveying that if they take your course, they're going to see huge growth in their social media following of potentially 20,000 followers. So instead, the FTC advises that in order for the ad to be less likely to be deceptive, it should clearly and conspicuously disclose that the generally expected social media following growth is 100 people. Okay? I hope you guys are starting to see the distinction here. You want to make sure that your ads or your messaging or these testimonials are representing the average user experience. And it's kind of like online dating. Don't put a picture of yourself up on your Match.com profile if it looks nothing like you, because your dates are just going to walk away feeling disappointed and frustrated because you set up an expectation that was misleading. And I'm not talking from experience. Okay, so tip number 3 is that the testimonial may not contain representations that would be deceptive or could not be substantiated. What does this mean? If you as the advertiser can't substantiate certain claims, then you can't get away with it by having somebody else, like a customer, write a testimonial making those claims. Advertisers must have evidence to back up their claims. So if you're going to make a claim that if you use this product or take this course, you're going to increase your business revenue 10 times, then you need to have evidence to back that claim up. Otherwise, you as the advertiser and potentially the endorser can be held liable for such unsubstantiated statements made in the testimonial. Now, let's illustrate this with an example. The FTC guides give the following example. A skincare product advertiser participates in a blog advertising service. The service matches up advertisers with bloggers who will promote the advertiser's products on their personal blogs. The advertiser requests that a blogger try a new body lotion and write a review of the product on her blog. Although the advertiser does not make any specific claims about the lotion's ability to cure skin conditions, and the blogger does not ask the advertiser whether there is a substantiation for that claim, in her review, the blogger writes that the lotion cures her eczema and recommends the products to her blog readers who suffer from this condition. The advertiser is subject to liability for misleading or unsubstantiated representations made through the blogger's endorsement. The blogger also is subject to liability for misleading or unsubstantiated representations made in the course of her endorsement. The blogger is also liable if she fails to disclose clearly and conspicuously that she is being paid for her services. So hopefully this illustrates for you that if you can't back it up, don't advertise it. Tip number 4 says that you must disclose any material connection between the endorser and the company. This is what we discussed in depth in episode 42. You have to disclose any material connection between a person endorsing a product and the company selling that product. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then make sure to go back and listen to that episode. Let's say you have testimonials from people who are affiliates, or maybe they're getting paid to write you a testimonial or a review, or maybe you've offered a discount in exchange for leaving a review. All of that stuff needs to be disclosed because it's an important factor that weighs into a consumer's decision-making process. If I'm hearing all of these positive testimonials or reviews from people about your product, but then I find out that these people are getting paid, well, I'm thinking all these people are getting paid to say good things about your product, and I may not want to buy your product because I don't really believe that it's really as good as they say it is. So what if you want to give an endorser or a consumer a discount on your products in exchange for a testimonial? Well, the FTC guidelines say that if you're giving an endorser something of value in return for a review, maybe that thing of value is a discount, maybe it's a free product, maybe it's an opportunity to be featured on your website or in your advertising. The term something of value is pretty vague, but what they say is that if you are giving an endorser something of value, then that endorser needs to disclose what they received from you within that review or that testimonial or that endorsement. This way, other consumers can decide how much stock to put in those reviews. And one final tip. I always recommend that you ask permission before using somebody's name, image, words, or review or feedback in connection with promoting your product. So just imagine the shoe was on the other foot. Wouldn't you want permission before you saw your face or your comments used in connection with promoting somebody else's products? I suspect the answer is yes. So don't do that to your customers. Always ask permission before you share their feedback. So there you go, the 5 tips to keep in mind when you use your customers' testimonials to market your products or services. To recap, tip number 1, testimonials must reflect the honest opinions, findings, beliefs, or experience of the endorser. Tip number 2, the testimonials must reflect the typical experience of consumers. Tip number 3, the testimonial may not contain representations that would be deceptive or could not be substantiated. Tip number 4 is you must disclose any material connection between the endorser and the company. And tip number 5 is to always ask permission to use a customer's name, image, or testimonial in connection with promoting your products and services. Now, if you want to dig in a little bit more and you want to actually read the FTC guides, I've linked them up in the show notes, which you can get at AnnetteStepanian.com/podcast/44. They really are super user-friendly, and I really recommend folks reading through them, even just hopping on over to the FTC website. They have a lot of great guides and resources for business owners as well as consumers. So I'm going to link all of that stuff up over in the show notes. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you ever have any questions you want me to address in a future Legal Quickie episode, you can always find me over on my website at AnnetteStepanian.com. I look forward to hearing from you. With that said, my friend, it's time for me to sign off. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I can't wait to talk to you later.